What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 223 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone, brought to you by Solozo. And today we're super excited. We're going to be talking all about how to source products from India. It's a hot topic right now. People are always looking for ways to find different types of products in different locations with logistics like it is now. We're trying to find just all the best ways to source high quality products and get them to us and get them to our customers in the most efficient way possible. So joining us today to talk all about this it's the master of this topic for sure. We have Meghla Bhardwaj, the co-founder of India Sourcing Network, joining us. How are you, Meghla?
I'm doing great, Dustin. Chris, nice to meet you. Nice to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
We are very, very excited to have you. And you're in India right now. What time is it? It's 10 a.m. here in the United States. What is it there?
It's 8:30 p.m.
Okay. Well, thanks for working into the evening here to chat with us. This is we're very, very excited. I like I said, I think this is going to be really valuable for everyone listening. I think speaking from United States perspective, people that are wanting to get into this game, wanting to get into selling on Amazon or selling on e-commerce and finding products. A lot of us have mentors or we take courses, and a huge part of that is, using Alibaba and how to find a supplier in China. And there's suppliers everywhere. There's cool products all over the world. And I think a lot of people, they get limited in their view of where they can source from. So this is going to be really exciting. For me, for Chris, for all of us, we're excited to learn more. So thank you so much, Meghla, for joining us. We cannot wait. And before we jump into all that, I'd like to give you a few minutes because we'd love to hear your background. How did you get into this space? What made you want to start a sourcing network? You've got a few minutes. So give us your background.
Okay, sure. So, yeah, my background is in the sourcing industry. I've been working in this industry for over 20 years. I started way back in the year 2000 in India, and then I moved to the Philippines, and I lived in China for 10 years, and then I was in Singapore for 7 years, and now I've come back to India. Just last week, I've relocated back here. So pretty exciting. But yeah, I mean, sourcing is what I have been really experienced in. And I used to work for this sourcing platform called Global Sources. And in 2016, I started doing this conference for them for e-commerce sellers, based in Hong Kong. And the conference was located in Hong Kong, but the attendees were global e-commerce sellers, and they were, all coming to Hong Kong to source products, and they were also attending the conference. And at that time, a lot of people were, of course, sourcing from India. And I was doing the conference for a couple of years, and around 2018, the trade war between China and the US started, right? And at that time, people started to look for alternatives and like, hey, where else can we source from because tariffs are so high? And so that's how I got the idea of, helping people source from India, because I had the background. I had worked in India previously. So I thought that, hey, this is a great opportunity to, help people. There's a gap in the market, and I can probably help people. So then I launched a sourcing trip to India in 2019. That was the first thing that I did, and it was a huge success. We took about 40 people from Australia, US to India on an 8-day trip. It was absolutely amazing, and we were all set for the 2020 trip. But then we know what happened, right? COVID. So that came to an end. But then, we started helping people source virtually, and that's how India Sourcing Network was born. And we put up a website. We started interviewing suppliers, manufacturers inside of our Facebook group, and just one thing led to the other. And the network has grown. We now have almost 100 vetted suppliers, manufacturers in our network. We've got service providers, freight forwarders. Basically, we give people everything they need to source products from India. And now that this is growing, I have decided to relocate back to India to help grow the business more and also help people even more. And so now we're also resuming our sourcing trips in October. So that's pretty exciting.
That is exciting, and that is something that I would be actually very interested in. I've been to India once. I was telling you before we jumped on. I love it. It's beautiful. Everyone's so nice. It was just a great trip. It wasn't for sourcing. It was for fun, but I really enjoyed it. And take a little time to explain how those sourcing trips work. What does it look like? What is the day-to-day sort of itinerary?
Yeah, so it's a 7 day sourcing trip, or 8 days, 7 nights. And there are three aspects that we focus on. One is learning. So we teach people how to source from India, because there's just so much information about sourcing from China out there, but there's nobody really talking about how to source from India. And so education is a really strong focus for us. And then the second aspect is sourcing, of course. So we visit a trade show. And then the third aspect is cultural experience. So because India has such a rich culture, we try to give people a bit of taste, of the culture as well. So the way the trip works is, on the first day we do a welcome dinner. Everybody is, welcomed in. The second day we do a full day conference where we invite speakers who are basically experts in sourcing from India and talk about different topics. We also invite overseas e-commerce brands who are successfully sourcing products from India, and they have built successful brands. And then we spend 3 days at the trade show, and we do guided tours for people at the trade show, because a lot of people have not been to trade shows, and it's very easy to just spend a lot of time wandering around the trade show and not really be productive. So we try to help people make the most of their time at the trade show. And then not all products are really Amazonable. India has a lot of a different variety of products, and some of them are like huge furniture items, for example. Those are not Amazonable. So we've got coaches traveling with the group that also help people select Amazonable products at the show. And then we do factory visits. So we visit a couple of factories in and around Delhi. And we also do Bollywood night, which is one of my favorite events. So it's an evening where you can dress up in Indian attire, and we've got a live dance show, very lively music and loud. Of course, it has to be loud in India, right? And then we also do a trip to the Taj Mahal. So that is one of the seven wonders of the world. So you can't come to India and not go to the Taj Mahal. So that's something that we do. It's a day trip to Taj Mahal. And it's basically an all-inclusive trip. So all you need to do is arrive at the Delhi airport, and from there we'll have somebody to pick you up at the airport. They'll give you a SIM card, take you directly to the hotel, and you're basically taken care of throughout the trip. Your meals, transportation, everything is covered. Hotel, everything is covered once you land in the at the Delhi airport. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to meet with suppliers face to face, to touch and feel products, because most people don't know what kinds of products India makes. And when you are there at the show, then you realize that, hey, the products are so high quality, and there's such a huge variety of products that are available. And this fair is the fair that we go to is called the Indian Handicrafts and Gifts Fair. And it's organized by a government organization called the Export Promotion Council for Handicrafts. So most of the products at this show are like wooden, metal, ceramic, all these kinds of products, a lot of handicraft items, also apparel, furnishings, furniture. So a wide range of products, and a lot of them are, quite Amazonable, so to speak. So that's a little bit about the trip.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like fun. For two things, anybody who hasn't been to the Taj Mahal needs to go. It's amazing. Yeah, that was one of the highlights of the trip. It's hard to believe. It really is amazing. And second, you mentioned furniture, that kind of stuff. I was first introduced that was India had a big presence in manufacturing that. I had a friend who owned a retail store and got most of his really neat, like really cool crafted furniture, unique designs. And I know that he went over to India all the time to source. So, because that brings me to my sort of my first question. One of the reasons why people go straight to China when they're launching is it's fairly easy. I mean, they make everything. Alibaba is a great resource. You can find suppliers for anything. They're very used to working with, international sellers. They usually speak English fairly well. At least the rep you're talking to usually does. And so it can be streamlined. What does that state look like right now in India? Is there similar type platforms to find suppliers? If you weren't going to go over there, and you talked a little bit about the kind of products that they manufacture, but what does that big picture look like in India? right now?
Yeah, so actually, Alibaba and Global Sources, these are the two main global B2B marketplaces out there, and both of them have a presence in India. In fact, Global Sources has been there for like over 20 years. I started working with them in India in 2000. So these two main directories do have suppliers from India. What you need to do is after you do a search for a product, choose the country location filter, and then you'll be able to find suppliers from India and other countries as well. But of course, the majority of suppliers on these platforms are from China, but they do have a small percentage of Indian suppliers as well. So that's one thing. The other thing you can do is just Google, because a lot of this, Google is not blocked in India, like it is blocked in China. So a lot of the websites, suppliers' own websites, are not indexed on Google, but that's not the case in India. So many times you can just find suppliers online, just by Googling. There's one website called India Mart, so you have to be very careful when you find suppliers or when you're looking for suppliers on India Mart, because it's a very domestic focused website. But when you are doing Google searches, it will come up in search results again and again because they've got tons and tons of suppliers. But the issue is that most of them are domestic focused, and they may or may not be aware of export requirements. They may not even have an export license. A lot of them may be trading companies. They may be importing products from China and distributing in the domestic market. Even the prices on that website are mentioned in Indian rupees. So just be aware when you're doing Google searches, India Mart will come up, but try to avoid it if you can. And then, India Sourcing Network, our website, indiasourcing.net, that's of course one of the platforms that you can use as well. And then trade shows. I think, trade shows are really a great way to find suppliers. One of the things to note is that a lot of Indian suppliers, I find, they also exhibit at overseas trade shows. So if you are in the US, let's say, or maybe in Europe somewhere, look for trade shows in your cities or nearby or, in your countries, and go there to meet suppliers as well. They usually have like an Indian pavilion, and you'll be able to find some suppliers over there too. So that's also a great way to, meet suppliers, not only from India, but other countries as well.
You mentioned furniture and home furnishings. What are some other categories that you could source in India that are really high quality, and what are some like their specialties?
Right. One of the biggest specialties that India offers is wood. So wooden products, anything made out of wood, and specifically mango wood. India really specializes in mango wood. China does more of bamboo wood, and bamboo wood is, it's processed bamboo. It's not really bamboo sticks as such that are made into different products. So China does bamboo, acacia. India does mango and acacia as well, but mango wood is India's specialty. So any type of, furniture, home decor item, kitchen items that are made of mango wood, that's really good. Any type of metal product, metal home decor item, so whether it's brass, steel, iron, copper, really nice copper bottles, copper utensils, those kinds of things, all sorts of metal products. Also, then we've got ceramic. So also glass, that's another one. So glass, blown glass and glass decor as well. The other categories are leather. That's another huge category. And there are different types of leather, different types of products. So for example, there's the, coarse and rough looking leather that's used maybe for men's wallets and men's bags and belts, and equestrian leather, that kind of leather. There's a separate production hub for those kinds of products. Then there's a softer leather that's used for garments and bags and ladies products. There's another production hub for that. Then you've also got leather shoes and all sorts of leather items that are available. So that's one category. Garments and apparel. These are the biggest export categories from India, not only for Amazon sellers, but all types of importers. And I think it's like the second or third largest export industry from India, and specifically cotton. So India really specializes in cotton garments and apparel, and also organic cotton. In fact, India is the largest producer of cotton in the world. So most of the cotton products that are made, they are made from locally sourced cotton. And a lot of cotton is also exported from India. So if you're looking for cotton, anything, furnishings, apparel, India is really good for that. And then we've got, bags, fashion accessories, belts, hats, caps, scarves, Kashmir scarves and shawls. Those are really good categories as well. Let me think what else. So India basically specializes in natural materials. So any products that are made from naturally occurring materials, they'd be really good to source in India. If you're looking for electronics, China is the place to go. If you're looking for, a mass-produced plastic widget, China is the place to go. There are factories in India for those too, but you'll find the prices more competitive and more variety and more suppliers available in China for those kinds of products. The industries in India for plastic and electronics, these are developing, but I think it will take time for them to start exporting on a large scale as China is. So yeah.
There's two questions I got. One is going to revolve around the culture differences. Dealing with overseas in China, it's mostly transactional, like trying to build a lot of relationships, but it's mostly just Americans are just like transactional based. Mm-hmm. Another one is quality of the product. So like you mentioned men's wallets. Where does India stand as far as like quality and price point? Are they going to be cheaper than China? Is it going to be relatively competitive? Like where does that fall into play?
So in terms of pricing, for some products, India can be cheaper. And it really depends on the raw material and the production process and how competitive the industry is in India. For example, cotton garments, India would be more competitive than China. Also, products that require more manual labor will be relatively cheaper in India because labor is cheaper. And in China, of course, we know that production costs are going up, labor costs are going up in China. And China is in fact moving up the value chain. Even the government is trying to invest more in high-tech kind of industries, and they themselves are, letting the low-end, labor-intensive industries leave China, so to speak. In fact, a lot of the large apparel manufacturers, they've been diversifying to places like Indonesia, Sri Lanka, for their apparel, Bangladesh for apparel manufacturing. So anything that requires labor, you might find that it's cheaper in India. Bags, for example, or shoes. So those kind of clothes, of course, those kinds of products. So it really depends, on the product. We can't say that, okay, India is cheaper or China is cheaper. It depends on the product, the availability, also the raw materials, because some of the raw materials might have to be imported from China. If that's the case, then it might be, even if the labor is cheap, the overall product might be more expensive because the raw material is imported. So there are a lot of factors that go into that. And then your second question was about quality. So quality, of course, you have to manage, just like you do in China, you have to manage quality in India. And there are different ways to do that. You have to be very, very specific about your requirements. And you have to make sure that there's no misunderstanding between you and the supplier. They understand exactly what you need. You have to be on top of things, of course. Just like in China, you can't just let your order be. You have to follow up and make, check samples and do inspections and make sure that they are producing according to specifications. So the same thing in India as well. And the one advantage in India is language. So most of the suppliers that you speak to, they will be very fluent in English. And in most cases, you'll be talking to the owners of the company. I mean, it depends on the size of the company, of course. If it's a very large company, then you're probably talking to a merchandiser. But if it's a mid-sized kind of company, which most Amazon sellers like to deal with those kinds of companies, you would be talking to the owner directly. And, that allows you to build a good relationship with them. And also have discussions about the product and product development. Especially if you're developing a product, you can get on a Zoom call with them and say that, hey, this is what I want, and explain things. And we find that communicating with suppliers is much easier than it is, with Chinese suppliers. That's one advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. The fact that you said like getting on a Zoom call, walking through everything, and then dealing with the owners directly. That's a huge advantage, I would say, over most of the factories in China. What's the overall state of manufacturing in India? I mean, we all know that China that's a manufacturing economy for sure. Yeah. I mean, they make the world's products pretty much. In India, is this a growing manufacturing economy? Are they, like you mentioned, electronics and other things that aren't produced there, but you said that they're coming along. Is that the case right now, where there's going to be more opportunity to source more products in India?
Yes, it's growing really fast. In fact, last financial year, 2020, 2021, exports grew 40%. So, and the government is also putting in a lot of investment and focusing a lot on the manufacturing sector as of now. So yes, this is one of the high growth sectors in the country. And I mean, India has been manufacturing and exporting products for quite a long time, like, decades actually. A lot of the big retailers from the US, Europe have been sourcing these products for a really long time. It's only now that Amazon sellers, e-com sellers are kind of exploring India as a sourcing base. So manufacturing has been very well established. There are different production hubs that manufacture and specialize in different industries. And it's quite interesting, some of these production hubs have been in existence for like hundreds of years, because they started as production hubs for maybe metal products for the kings and queens, or the rulers at that time, literally in the 1600s. And gradually they have evolved over the years, and their skills have been passed from generation to generation. And nowadays the products are being exported on a mass scale. So it's very interesting how some products have really developed. We were talking to a supplier today, and they produce perfumes, and he's the fourth generation in that company, and they've been producing perfumes since like 1600s. And he said, this is what we do. And they're based in a city that specializes in perfumes and all sorts of essential oils. So you'll find a lot of these kinds of stories and different production hubs in India. But yeah, to answer your question, manufacturing exports are a very high growth industry in India as of now. The government is really pushing for that.
What does the interest of selling on Amazon look like in India? I know that when Dustin and I probably started back in 2013, 2014, factories just sold to brands, and then those brands sold on Amazon. Then we saw a shift where the factories started to actually sell on Amazon, and costs got really tight, and it was really hard to compete. Is that same thing happening over in India?
That's happening to some extent, but not to as much of an extent as it's happening in China. I think in China you find that a lot of the factories are basically just selling online. But in India, what we are finding is the traditional factories that have been producing for decades, they are still more interested in supplying to brands, wholesale and private label or OEM, and they're not interested in selling directly on Amazon their own brands. But there are newer types of entrepreneurs and newer companies coming up that are creating their own brands, and these are D2C brands. So they start their own company, and some of them might outsource to factories in India, or some of them might set up their own factories and they sell their own brands on Amazon. We're also seeing some traditional manufacturers diversify and launch their own D2C brands. And those are maybe more of the larger companies that are doing that. But by and large, the small, mid-sized companies that we deal with, or that Amazon sellers would deal with, they still prefer supplying in wholesale to buyers, who then sell their products. Because they say that, hey, our skill set is manufacturing. That's what we specialize in. We don't want to sell like one-two products, B2C.
What's the minimum order quantity look like? I know a lot of people say like 1,000 units, you got to get 500 maybe. What's it? Is there any kind of like special threshold we're dealing with India suppliers?
Yeah, so it really depends on the product category. So let's see, maybe metal and wooden products. Let's say you want to do home decor items like trays, bowls, salad bowls, those kinds of things. The typical MOQ would be 200 to 300 pieces. But of course, if you wanted to, they could even sell you 50 pieces, because a lot of these items are handmade, handcrafted. So the MOQs can be lower. But then, typically it's 200 to 300, sometimes 500 pieces. Sometimes suppliers also have an MOV, which is a minimum order value. So they might say that, okay, you must place an order of, let's say, $5,000 or $8,000, but you can mix and match. You can have like 5 different SKUs, and you can do like 300 pieces of each SKUs, but you must meet this minimum order value. So that's another thing that I think is very advantageous for Amazon sellers, because that allows you to, sell or launch multiple products or test multiple products and see which one really sells well. So that's something. And then apparel and textiles. MOQs can be higher, especially if you want customized designs, because those MOQs really depend on the textile mills. Like, for example, if you want a special, fabric to be printed based on your pattern, then of course the textile mill will have an MOQ, which in turn, the supplier will tell you that this is their MOQ, and the MOQ is usually in terms of meters. because it's an MOQ of the textile mill. But you can also work around that. You can talk to the supplier and maybe have it like 3 different SKUs with the same material. I don't know, maybe make like a mother's dress and a baby's dress and or a tablecloth or something like that. But you can use that same material in different SKUs. That's something to consider as well. But in general, we found that MOQs in India are lower than they are in China for most product categories.
What's the logistics side look like? The lead time, are we looking long time? Even, cost for a full container? Like, are we seeing the same type of things transition over when dealing with India?
Okay, so lots of questions there. Let's unpack this. So first of all, logistics. So in India, there are a couple of different ports. Now, if you know, India is a peninsula shape, right? So there's one port on the west, Mumbai, which is the main port. Most of the shipments to the US and to Europe as well go out of Mumbai. There are other ports in the south as well, but we recommend going to Mumbai, especially if you're sourcing from North India, and most of the handcrafted kind of products will come from North India. So from Mumbai, the ship goes towards New York, and it takes about 22 days sailing times. 22 to 23 days is the sailing time of the ship from Mumbai to New York. If you're going to the West Coast, it takes longer because then the ship has to go the other way, from China. And so if you're sourcing, let's say, from South India on the east coast of India, then the ship will go the other way to the West Coast. And there's usually a stopover in Singapore or Korea where the ship changes. And so that might take 30, 35 days sailing time. But we recommend you to go via Mumbai to the East Coast if you're sourcing from India. China, of course, you mostly go to the West Coast. And then if you're sourcing from, let's say, the North, then it takes about 2 to 3 days, sometimes a bit more, for the products to go from the production center in the North to Mumbai. And that takes about 2 to 3 days, maximum a week. And so overall, you're looking at about 35 to 40 days, including customs and, domestic transportation and everything. So about, 35 days or so. 30,
is New York is New York the main port that you go on,
yes.
On the East Coast? Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Awesome.
You can go to New York
cost.
Container costs. So container costs did go up from India as well when they went up, from China, but not as high as they were in China. So the maximum that we saw a 20-foot container go up to was like maybe 14,000, 15,000. That was the maximum. It didn't go more than that. And then currently, we checked the costs a couple of weeks ago. I think a 20-foot was about 10,000 or so, and a 40-foot was about 12, 13, 14, something like that. So the costs have, of course, gone up compared to 2 years ago, but not as high as they have, been in China. And in terms of logistics, China, of course, has more advanced logistics. There are ports near every city. And so it's much easier. But India has 3 or 4 main ports. There are different smaller ports around the coast, but then there are 3 or 4 main ports that are from India. So you have to be mindful of where your factory is located when you're sourcing from India, and you need to make sure that it's going to be cost effective to ship to the U.S. from wherever your factory is located and the port.
And what about customs and tariffs? If we're going to import into the United States, are there tariffs and are they expensive for products coming from India?
So there are import duties. So regular import duties on some products. Some products don't have any import duties. But generally import duties range from 2 to 4% on most product categories that Amazon sellers would import at least. There's no additional, like Trump tariffs on India-made products. So in terms of tariffs, and that's one of the reasons why people were looking to diversify. And even though for some products the product price was more expensive in India, but with the tariffs and everything, the landed cost was actually more expensive if they bought it from China as compared to India.
Interesting. Well, I want to, you mentioned something earlier. You were talking about perfumes, essential oils. That got my mind kind of thinking of, like tea, other things that might be
yes.
In the United States. Like if we want to do, launch a supplement brand or a vitamin. There's lots of manufacturing in the United States for those where they make it easy to go and like customize your blend. It's all you can private label it with your brand. For things like that, for things like essential oils or perfumes, how easy is it to deal with the suppliers and try to like create your own perfume scent or blend or what you're looking for, and then have that sort of branded and labeled for your brand? Is that an easy process to do?
Yes, it's an easy process, and that's what suppliers really specialize in. They want you to give them, your specifications and what you want on the bottle and what the bottle shape should be, and they want you to give them the sticker, or they might design the sticker for you, or they want you to do that. They are better at that. They don't usually have catalogs. In China, you can actually get catalogs, and they'll say that, okay, these are the designs that we offer. A lot of Indian suppliers, of course, do have catalogs, but many of them don't have catalogs, and they depend on buyer specifications. So yeah, it is easy to do that. I mean, you have to find the right supplier, but again, it's easy to communicate with them and explain to them what you want. Send samples over and have discussions about whether it's perfume or tea or anything else. Have discussions about what's possible, what's not possible. So yeah, that's very easy to do.
I know a lot of people are listening right now, and they're very intrigued. For whatever reason, that whether they're struggling with the costs from China, or they can't find the products. It sounds like there's a lot of opportunity to differentiate your product, especially if it's in like home goods or something like that, where you can really create a unique product, which is what everyone's trying to look to do on Amazon, obviously, is be a differentiated product. And they're very interested in this sourcing trip that you've got coming up. So can you remind everybody what the dates are and where they need to go if they're interested in joining that sourcing trip?
Yes, so the dates are October 12th to the 19th. And they can go to indiasourcingtrip.com to get more information. And after the trip, we're actually also doing an additional optional trip to a city called Moradabad that is about 4 or 5 hours by road from Delhi. And we're going to be spending 3 days at that in that city, visiting factories. And that's the main production hub for metal and wooden products in India. And we found that those are the types of products that Amazon sellers are sourcing from India, and they're having success with those kinds of products. So that's an optional tour in case people are interested. They can opt for that. So yeah, indiasourcingtrip.com. That's the website to go to. And tickets are now available in case anybody wants to sign up.
Sounds like an amazing trip. We will definitely have that link in the description and the notes. It's also scrolling at the bottom of our screen right here. And now for anybody who can't make that trip or doesn't want to actually go over there, how can they work with you to find suppliers, to find their products? And what does that look like? So they, we go to indiasourcing.net. Is that the website to find you?
Yeah, that's the website. And once they go there, they can search for the product they're looking for, and they can, go to the supplier's profile. They can watch an interview that we've done with suppliers. We do live webinars with each and every supplier, and they can contact suppliers directly via the website. And then our team will also help follow up with them. So yeah, our services are, free for buyers, and they can just contact any suppliers that they want. If somebody's cannot find a supplier on our website, then we also have services where we can help find suppliers for people. And we're also launching personal sourcing trips. So in case somebody doesn't want to join the India sourcing trip, or they want to go earlier, we can also organize, personal trips for them, select factories and manage all the logistics and travel, etc., and help you visit factories in India.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so you offer a lot. It's not just a directory. It's help across the board in terms of finding the right supplier, finding the right products, and getting going. This has been fun, Meghla. We got to get you back on in the future, just because I'm sure this is an evolving, like you said, manufacturing's evolving there, and there's lots of opportunity. So we'd love to get you back on in the future and just sort of get an update on what's going on with everything in India. And maybe we'll see you on that sourcing trip. That sounds
Yes.
like a blast. It's been too long. I've got to get back to India. I really loved it. But thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. It's been valuable for everyone listening for sure.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
We enjoyed it. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. If you like content like this, make sure you subscribe to our podcast. You can also see the live streams on Solozo's social media platforms. So Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. You can see all of these recorded sessions that we've done in the past. Additionally, if you're currently selling on Amazon and PPC is a struggle, something that maybe you don't understand, or it's a lot of work, it's taking up too much time, and you can't focus on sourcing your next product from India because you're spending too much time on advertising, we can help you at Solozo. Go to solozo.com. You can book a demo, and we will show you how our platform can help automate and fully optimize your PPC on Amazon. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Megla, for joining us. We will see you all next time.